Hey everyone, hope you're having the most incredible day. I am so excited to be here with you for another episode of Reignite Your Soul podcast. We're already on episode 4 this season, and I'm your host, Laura Plahuta, and I'm a Reiki Master Energy Healer and Spiral Practitioner, and bringing you amazing conversations with just really empowering people to help you to expand your mind, open your heart to an entirely new way of being. And I am very excited if you guys are on here live with me on Instagram. Say hello. Love seeing you guys in the comments. Hello, hello. If you guys are catching the recording on the podcast or the YouTube channel, hello. I'm so happy you're here. We're going to be having an incredible guest on today, Joanne Mulhall, and she is absolutely incredible. And we're going to be having a conversation all around optimizing human potential, optimizing human performance when it comes to our health and our nutrition. Hey everyone. And we're just going to wait for Joanne to pop on here. But she gives an incredible analogy. In society, we've been programmed a lot with our belief system around health and nutrition and our physical bodies. And a lot of it's been very superficial, and a lot of it, our belief systems are a lot of blame mentality and not really learning to listen to our actual bodies for what they are actually saying to us, right? When our body shows us signs and symptoms, we instantly think that there's something wrong with us, and then we will go into the healthcare system to get oftentimes a Band-Aid solution. And there are some gaps in the healthcare system that we have here in the Western world, and we're definitely going to chat a little bit about that as well. And I've been doing a lot bringing in the Western culture, health modalities and stuff like that, and there's big power to both. So we're going to be having a chat around that. And one of the incredible analogies Joanne she shares, and once she comes on here she can share more about it obviously, but with the way that we've kind of been taught to deal with our nutrition, I don't know if you can resonate with this, but if you've been eating so clean and so healthy and you're like, I'm still not getting the results that I'm looking for. And one of the things that she found after being in the industry for the last 25 years, being a holistic health practitioner and holistic nutritionist, along with all of the other incredible certifications that she has, she found that there was a big component that was missing from it. And the analogy that she gives, car, and you are putting in supreme oil into this vehicle, yet the oil filter is super bunged up and clogged up, and you're never going to get the actual benefits from that actual high quality fuel that you're putting into it, or for the oil. Hi Joanne, I'm so happy you're on here.
Hey, good morning, Laura. Nice to see you.
Yes, so good to see you. And Joanne is actually en route to the ferry right now. So thank you so much for putting this into your schedule and rolling with all of the changes you have going on in your life, and being so excited to come
No
on here and chat
worries.
with us all today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. I was intending to be in one place, so hopefully we'll roll with this, won't we?
Yeah, we'll definitely roll with it. I was just sharing a little bit about how with your clients you found that people were putting in all good stuff that they thought were good stuff, yet still weren't really getting the results. And I just kind of shared the analogy that you had shared with me about a car and oil. And really, if you're not having the detox and the cleanse component when it comes to our health and stuff, we're still not actually absorbing all of the proper nutrients. We're not getting the full value of the magic that our bodies actually can provide when they are running optimally and are full of health. So I'd
Yeah,
love for
exactly.
you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that's exactly right. We just automatically think that by improving our nutrition, which obviously is a super key component, that we can magically kind of get to that deeper level, which we can get to the next level, but we are missing some key components if we're not incorporating some deeper detox and cleansing for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And we could definitely get into a deeper conversation about all of that as well. First, I would love it if you would mind just introducing yourself to everybody so that everybody
Sure.
can get to know you a little bit more.
Sure. So I grew up in Ontario. I'm from Waterloo originally, and lived there really until my husband and I moved out to the West Coast in the early 90s. And I was actually working in my other world. I was working for an airline. I was a flight attendant.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, and I did that for 6 years. And what was key about that was that I started to have a lot of health issues then. It was in my late 20s, early 30s. I just had my second child, my son, and I just really started noticing some things with my health that I wasn't able to figure out. I went allopathically to get, tests done and different things and wasn't really getting any answers. So I actually started, I'd already always gone to a chiropractor because I've had different, issues with my back. And through that chiropractor, I was exposed to my very first naturopath that I went to. I learned about iridology and I went to see an iridologist. I did colon hydrotherapy. I mean, you name it, I started to explore it. And so that was obviously transformational for me because I started getting answers to other things about my health that allopathic or conventional medicine wasn't able to offer me. And number one was that I found out that I was extremely lactose intolerant.
Mm,
So that was a huge one for me to eliminate dairy in all forms because a lot of
yeah.
people don't realize that dairy in many forms is in many things. So you really need to be diligent if you're going to try to do any kind of food elimination diet to get all the sources of those ingredients.
Mm,
And from that, really started to put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out that that was an underlying reason why my energy was so low, why my digestion wasn't working, why there were so many things that wasn't functioning well for me. Just from there, and going to an iridologist and learning so many things through the eye about my constitution, about my predispositions for things, I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. And in 1994, we moved back to Ontario, and I was just kind of a little OCD about talking about health and nutrition. Anytime it came up in a conversation, I was in on it. And from that, I was like,
mhm.
maybe I should think. I wasn't flying anymore at that point. I was like, maybe I should think about doing this like as a career. And so then I just started exploring courses in Toronto and different areas and found an iridology course. And so that was my first area of study was iridology and sclerology. So analyzing
Wow.
the eyes for preventative health. And the cool thing about that is that, iridology is I would say, a lot more widely known and accepted in Europe. And it's actually very popular with Russian doctors.
Mm,
A lot of European doctors. There's a few like key Italian doctors, et cetera, and it's very well accepted there, but still on the fringe in North America, unfortunately. Um, but what's so interesting about it is that it works like other things like reflexology, hand and foot reflexology. It's all very homuncular, so means that its parts of the body are connected to other parts of the body, and we have reflex points. So from that, what you're doing is analyzing the tissue condition of the body in order to determine weaknesses, areas of toxicity or congestion, and also just our general predispositions for things. So things about what we call our constitution and how strong or I don't like to use the word weak, but how um, more sensitive or fragile our constitution might be. And so that was fascinating to me. So I
yeah.
dove in, I took lots of courses, and I learned holistic nutrition along with that because you can't just learn what is going on in the body unless you learn what to do about it. And so obviously, therapeutic uses of food and nutrition, which means curative properties to food and nutrition, really went along with all my iridology studies. So I did courses in
Amazing.
Toronto. I studied with a naturopath who came in from California to do courses in Burlington. I actually did a course with him in Mexico. That was pretty fun and cool. And yeah, so that was just my starting point, and I just kept going from there as far as learning and increasing my areas of knowledge and quote unquote expertise. So I'm a level Reiki 2 practitioner as well. I am a certified holistic nutritionist now as well. I have taught at the Institute for Holistic Nutrition in Vancouver, and I continue to teach the basic nutrition course for fitness trainers at CanFit Pro. So
Amazing.
that's me.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's
Thanks.
incredible too, because you have such a wide range of knowledge when it comes to the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the energetic, the emotional, kind of like the whole range of everything. And my story is kind of similar with yours, where my physical body, when I was working, kind of started breaking down, and I didn't find any help within the normal healthcare system. So that's where I started exploring into nutrition and into the holistic practices as well. And that's where I found the greatest benefit. And especially with my background being a paramedic as well, I got to kind of see the inside of the healthcare system, which is really incredible when it comes to acute care and emergency medicine. But I know you're very passionate about being proactive and preventative towards our health, whereas that is more of like a reactive kind of space, where when we haven't been taking care of things, then things start showing up, and that's where that can really play a role. So I do believe, and I love your opinion on this, how they can work together, the two of
Absolutely.
them, 100%. It's just we're
Yeah.
not quite there yet here in Canada, where they are really functioning as an inclusive thing. And I'm curious what your take is, Joanne, on why it's so accepted and widely accepted in other countries, but here in Canada, it's still kind of not really fully widely accepted yet.
Iridology in particular, you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Hmm.
it's like any other modality like Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine. It's taken time for it to get more known and out there and just validated, I suppose. There's still a lot of skepticism, especially amongst allopathic physicians who aren't familiar with more holistic modalities. And there are many who are. But I think
Hmm.
it's still a personal investigation for them. I don't, because it's not really part of their training. And I think that
Hmm.
would be amazing in medical school if one of their course requirements might be that they have to do a
Yeah.
wide spectrum of alternative or holistic health, um, you know, exploration. So at least they're familiar with it. So that
Yeah.
in recommending those kinds of things when allopathy doesn't have necessarily have the answer. But you're right in terms of, and obviously, yes, as a paramedic, you're in there as a first responder. My husband and I were ski patrollers for many years, and that's
Mm.
what we did, first response on the ski hill. And those skills are incredible. And
Yeah.
I still, go to those in times of any kind of little bit of emergency in any kind of situation. But and those skills are really great to have. But in terms of preventative, absolutely, we need to delve more into the holistic health modalities because there's so much there and so much to
Yeah.
offer people. And I think what's really interesting, one of my sort of goals with my clients is to talk to them about, do they have extended health care? And what benefits do they have through their workplace? And it's amazing
Hmm.
to me that a lot of people have access to massage therapy, osteopathy, chiropractic, acupuncture, counseling, and none of it's utilized. None of it's
Yeah.
utilized. So if I could
Yeah.
say anything to listeners today, is like if you have a health benefits package, go find out what you're covered for.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, go to explore. You don't even have to necessarily go because you have something going on. You could just go to explore and say, hey, I've
Hmm.
never had this treatment before. I really want to go and find out what this is all about.
Yeah.
And, even from that perspective, extended healthcare benefits don't always include holistic nutrition, unfortunately, which
Hmm.
is a big gap because there is a difference between a holistic nutritionist and a dietitian, right? They do have a different scope of practice. Some overlap, but again, that's kind of more personal training. So And what I feel I do with the iridology, and I've also added in 5 years ago, hair analysis. And this
Amazing.
is not your typical hair analysis, which I did use years ago in my practice at the beginning, which was pluck the hair, put it in an envelope, send it to the lab, and they do just a mineral analysis on your hair. I do have access to that type of testing, but the one that I do most with clients now is actually live hair analysis. So I take the hair from the back of the head at the nape, and it's a frequency scanner. It digitally reads or frequency reads the information that's in the root ball of the hair, and then it produces a report giving you really exactly where your body is at right now in terms of where you need to put your focus. Amino acids, minerals, vitamins, enzymes, that kind of thing. Whether your body is being affected by electromagnetic fields, parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungus. So again, we have a lot of amazing tools at our disposal if you start to investigate. But I think that's part of it. People need to take the initiative to kind of do that on their own, to investigate what's out there and learn about it. It may not be for you, but you could learn about it and go, there's something to this. This makes sense. Maybe I should check this out.
For sure. Yeah. It's so incredible, like the technology that we have now and the ability that we have to get like specific stuff for our own health and what's going to benefit us. And I love how you touched on like the toxicity, but as well as like the electromagnetic frequencies and stuff that's also affecting us because the world is so different than it was
Yeah,
like 10, 20, 30 years ago. There we're constantly evolving, constantly changing with our environment, and it is impacting our human health. Um,
100%. 100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how you shared too about with the benefits and just going out and exploring and stuff like that. Because it's like we can be skeptical, but at the end of the day, it's like it's working for many, many, many people, and it's absolutely incredible the resources and stuff that's out there to be able to help us to be able to allow us to find deeper insights into why we are experiencing what we're experiencing.
Well, and that's it. And I'm glad you phrased it as, our world is changing, and it's changing at a
Yeah.
rapid pace right now. And I think that people, because they maybe aren't tuned in to how rapidly things are changing, that it's preventing them from tuning into their bodies and being able to discover, what their bodies are telling them. And yeah, just sorry,
That's okay.
getting some cross stuff here on the car. Anyway, um, to be able to tune into your body and pay attention to those little signals that tell me, oh, something's not right. And I mean, that's kind of a key thing with even just the basics of nutrition. If something's not jiving with your body, a lot of times our body tells us right off the bat or within a few hours, oh, that made me feel bloated, or oh, my energy went tanked. Why did my energy tank? And then,
Hmm.
instead of kind of listening to that, they turn around and go for that other cup of coffee or that other little whatever that might not be the healthy choice, or that candy bar or something to give them that lift.
Yeah.
And, frequency wise, as you know, and I know very well with the energy work that we do, we are frequency
Yeah.
above everything else. We are frequency. So,
Hmm.
in terms of what is going on, with the electromagnetic field changes, I mean, we're Wi-Fi everywhere. And now we're at a level of data frequency and Wi-Fi frequency, which is the 5G. And, a lot of people might be questioning that, going, well, where's the proof? But I think we just have to understand that if we are frequency and energetic beings, if we're surrounded by a frequency that isn't in alignment with our frequency, it's
Hmm.
going to have an effect on it by changing it. And is
Yeah.
that change going to be positive or negative? And,
Hmm.
there's the possibility of both, actually.
Yeah.
We know that frequencies can be very healing. And I
Hmm.
use frequency work, and in energetic work, that's what we're tapping into, is the healing frequencies But there are
Mm-hmm.
frequencies out there that are damaging our cells. So we have to just be
Yeah.
aware and again and try to educate ourselves. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that's I've been finding over the last few years, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing, is that there's a lot more black and white thinking out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to set that aside to open up to the realm of possibilities
Yeah.
because there is just so much that we don't know and don't understand about health, about science, about the human body, you know, and we need to be much more open and much more communicative and much more willing to engage in dialogue so that we can
Mm-hmm.
explore the best options for me or for you, which is not going to be the same. You know, it's
Yeah.
different for every person. But if
Yeah.
you sit in that realm of possibilities, you can, you know, tap into, well, what do I need and what is good for me? And that's the key,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, anything that's going on, like our outside world is always changing, and a lot of it is out of our control. So at the end of the day, the only thing we have to listen to is our own bodies. And
exactly.
unfortunately, the way that we've been conditioned a lot, we've been focusing so much on our external world that we're so disconnected from our bodies and what they're actually saying to us. And we can't even we aren't even in tune with what our body is saying. I know I'm always talking about self-awareness and bringing shifting that back inside to ourselves. And then I think like a big thing that I would love to just kind of share on here would be your body is never broken, and our bodies are absolutely incredible, because even when our body are showing these signs and symptoms, like I remember I used to think like, oh, there's something wrong with my body, and I would like try to fix it, right? But when you can shift that mindset and that perception you have of, oh, thank you so much for showing me this, like let's dig a little deeper, right? And like being able
Yeah,
to explore it from that curious place to be like, oh wow, thank you so much for showing me that. So regardless what's happening in our external environment, like for anybody listening, like what is it that you're physically experiencing in your body, and does it feel good or does it feel bad? Because our bodies will naturally tell us what is going well and what isn't. And like you said, the frequency of our energy is really the factor that will show whether we are thriving or whether we are necessarily not. And food and nutrition is massively frequency based.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because live food has a frequency and an energy to it. And as soon as you just shift that from a cooked food or processed food, the frequency changes, the energy changes. So this is why, you know, that 80/20 rule on a general realm of things is 80% raw, 20% cooked. You know, that's a high percentage. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily consume that, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of an optimal 80% alkaline, 20% acidic. You know, 80% of the time you're focused on eating for energy and eating for well-being, and the 20% can be the fun stuff. And a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
that's flipped around, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, and it's an education process, but I
Yeah.
just started a group challenge, not challenge, I don't like that word, a group initiative last week. And our whole first week was just talking about awareness and, you know, paying attention to certain things, keeping a little notebook, writing stuff down. What are you noticing? You know, how can you pay attention more to certain things? What are some of your habits? You know, how do you wake up in the morning? How does your morning routine set you up for the day? How do you go to
Mm-hmm.
bed at night? You know, what's going on for you? You know,
Yeah.
just little things like that that we often are on autopilot and we're just not paying attention. And it's awareness is the first step to change, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So anybody listening, grab a notebook, start logging stuff and actually taking the time to do it, right? If we don't take the time to invest into ourselves, we're never going to get the results that we seek. And then we can't keep complaining about the same things. Well, we can, but it just does. That's actually suffering.
yeah.
And I
And
love that you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love that you mentioned about, I've never heard that before about like, and I have heard it, but like, I always usually cook my veggies and stuff. And now I'm actually going to be more conscious of not doing that and having more like actual raw veggies. 'Cause like you said, it changes the frequency of it. Cause I never really thought of it. I knew that it shifted a lot, like the actual nutrients in it, but it makes sense that it shifts some of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it does. But also, you know, we live in seasonality, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. So, you know, to have raw food in the winter isn't actually very intuitive, or, you
Right.
know, we need warming foods for our body. But at least to be able to make soups and stews where you're putting the whole vegetable and you're not draining the water out and you're keeping all the nutrients and all the vitamins in there. And, I'm all about, just natural ways to improve your digestion. One of the main things is cook with love. you know
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
don't don't cook when you're pissed off, and don't, you're just dumping that energy into your
Yeah.
food. And also don't eat when you feel that way, because
Hmm.
your digestion on a physiological level, when your stress is triggered, your digestive function shuts down, right? That's the fight
Right.
and flight response, is when you're in
Hmm.
stress mode. Your digestive system goes to low priority. So when
Hmm.
even if you're feeling a little bit rushed and you're having a busier day, just sit down and take, a minute to just deep breathe, and, send a little gratitude out, and put a little gratitude into the food that's in front of you.
Hmm.
I've gotten away from religious kind of routine dogma, because it doesn't fit with me. But, when I go back to my roots, and, kind of automatically, saying a prayer before you
Yeah.
eat, but really not doing it mindfully, there is a purpose to that, which
Yeah.
is the gratitude piece.
Hmm.
So for those of you who are more inclined that way, or not, just to be able to take that few minutes to be truly
Yeah.
grateful that we have food, and it's nourishing food, and that it is going to nourish your body,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of it takes us slowing down.
Yeah, yeah,
Slowing
exactly.
down.
And on a
Yeah.
food frequency level too, another main thing to keep in mind is, again, the seasonality of foods. So that 100-mile diet concept is really important, because I think that the energy of our environment, and, it's always been suggested that when you're doing things, even therapeutically, herbs that grow in your environment, or, whatever is in your immediate area, is really the best that's going to be for you, because of that frequency kind of connection. But
Right.
also, when we think of foods that come from, thousands of miles away, they haven't been picked ripe, so they don't have the full energy of the sun, because they've bananas picked green. Well, that's not a fully, energy potential food until it
Yeah.
is ripened from that sun energy. So if we just stop and think about it for a few minutes, we do see the connection and why it's so
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
And, obviously I've been in the health industry for 25 years professionally. And I just went to the health food retailer show in Vancouver a couple weekends ago. And it was so fun. Number one, it was a live event. So it was great to see people and just, reconnect with a few people that I still knew from way back in the day, but also to see the evolution of even the health food industry, which, typically can still be, high in sugar, different things, even though it's tagged as a health food. But so many companies where they're committed to simple ingredients, fewer
Hmm.
ingredients, really paying attention to the sugar content in their products, really making that with quality care. It was just, and lots of Canadian businesses. So it was just so
Amazing.
refreshing to see that.
That's incredible.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'd love for you, would you be open to sharing, like, what are some um, like simple swaps that people can do when it comes to shifting the things in their lifestyle? Like, what are some of the things that you see from your clients and stuff that you help them to kind of swap? Because it's such a big topic that sometimes it can get overwhelming to be like, oh my gosh, I need to change all of these things. So doing it really like slow and kind of just like doing
Yeah.
things slowly, like you said, like looking at sugar, kind of starting to decrease like the amount of sugar, maybe starting to, like you said, maybe remove dairy or some other allergens and stuff like that to see how your body responds to it. Do you have any suggestions for people that are kind of looking to start creating a healthier lifestyle for themselves?
Yeah, totally. Great question. Yeah, actually, what I can share with you that you can post, and as a follow-up for the podcast, it is actually the CanFit Pro Food Nutrition Pyramid. So it is their creation. So it's a little bit different than obviously the Canada Food Guide, but I love the pyramid concept, and that's nothing new. but it gives you some guidelines, like water is right at the base of the pyramid. That's the foundation, right? Should also be fresh air and sunshine, but water's in there and it is because it is a nutrient.
Yeah.
So, number one is starting looking at how much water you're taking in every day. Such a simple thing, but I think most people are dehydrated.
Yeah.
And, you can do a simple thing by filling a bottle of water like this one I have in the car. I need to fill it. Got my little shungite uh, stones in the bottom there.
Oh,
But
amazing.
and shungite's really great against EMF, and it does a nice thing to
Wow.
frequency alter your water. So that's a little tip there.
Incredible. And
So
that's just a crystal, right?
it's actually a stone.
Is it stone?
It looks like a stone. It doesn't have any crystalline type of texture to it, but yeah, it's amazing
So
for
cool. Shungite.
EMF type of protection. So
Awesome.
just take a bottle like this, which is 750 mils. And so ideally you want to drink, 2 to 3 of these in a day. You can put a rubber band around the bottom, fill it up. As you empty it, take the rubber band off or a hairband and put it on your wrist, or vice versa. As drink them, you can put it on the bottle. So that's an
Mhm.
easy way to track. And a lot of times it's great if you have 3 already in the morning, fill them up at the beginning of the day and go, okay, by the end of the day, I've got to consume this. Now that's just a guideline. It's, take your body weight, divide it by 2, and that gives you the number of ounces that you should be consuming every day. That's your baseline. So if you're
Right.
drinking coffee or if you're doing other things or if you're exercising, obviously it needs to go up from there. So water is key. Just start with that. The second
Hmm.
thing on the pyramid is vegetables. And probably a lot of people would say, and I do, even when I teach the course, it's like, why isn't it fruits and vegetables? Well, vegetables usually have less carbohydrate content. They have less sugars. They have more, not necessarily more fiber, but the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll from the green is kind of where we're going with that. And
Hmm.
fruits, while amazing, you still want to be mindful of how much sugar you're taking in just by a fruit.
Hmm.
So vegetables should be the emphasis. And you wouldn't believe the number of people, and maybe there's some on this live, who don't eat vegetables or don't eat very many vegetables.
Yeah.
So how can you increase that? Make a smoothie. First thing in the morning, make a smoothie. Put in some, awesome protein source. You and I love a particular dairy-free or whey-based protein from Isogenics. Put in a
Hmm.
scoop of that or your favorite protein powder that you like. Lots of vegetables, so you can put a handful of, and a lot of these can be frozen, like a bag of frozen spinach, grab a handful. Kale, you can freeze that, grab a handful. Mixed greens, organic mixed greens, grab a handful of that. Maybe a little piece of green apple, throw that in. And if you have a decent, like a NutriBullet or a decent type of blender, that'll work great. Perfect investment. Blend that up and start your day with a green smoothie. Also, there's lots of great greens mixtures, dehydrated organic vegetables that are in a powder.
Hmm.
If you need that extra support, that's another awesome way. Or put your vegetables in and throw that in as well. You
Hmm.
can't really OD on green vegetables.
Yeah. I love my greens powder. I find
Yeah,
for me to sit down and like eat that many vegetables in a day, like I love just putting a scoop in and having that extra bit and then doing it in my meals as well. But I find that for me like works
excuse
so
me.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it does. Sorry, maybe because I'm
That's
talking
okay.
too much. It does help because,
Yeah.
again, for some people who want to ramp that up, but they're just not sure, or they're just not used to eating that many whole vegetables,
Yeah.
yeah, get yourself a great greens powder.
Yeah.
There's lots of them out there, and we use the one from Isogenics, which has a lot of other added benefits to it as well. And throw that in. That's, several servings of vegetables in one scoop. So also try and make it easy for yourself. If that works for you, do it that way.
Hmm.
Have a second smoothie, 3 o'clock instead of going for the coffee or something else. Have another energizing green smoothie. Why
Hmm.
not? 2 of them in a day is not a lot. And then, you know, just start to, take a look at some of the foods that you maybe go to all the time. Because when you have a food intolerance, you can also have like an addiction almost to a food that your body kind of craves, even though maybe it's not something that does, is alignment. Um, I know I just different people that have, like cravings when they have cravings for dairy or cravings for certain things. That might be an indicator that that's actually not a food that's good for you. And dairy is a huge one to try and eliminate. So you can go and get food sensitivity testing done, which would kind of cut to the quick and give you the information right away, that your body tells you, nope, this is a big no-no. Because the things about foods that our body can't tolerate, the first thing that it's going to do is create an inflammatory response.
Right.
And especially in your joints, like I'm very sensitive to not just lactose, but I find too now in more and more, I'm sensitive to wheat. And I feel it right away. My fingers get a bit stiff. I feel a bit achy in the morning if I've had wheat or, gluten from other sources, not just wheat. So that
Mm-hmm.
might be an indicator. If you're noticing those kinds of body symptoms, that's a pretty good indicator that you've got inflammation, and it's really time to try and figure out what's going on. So those are a couple
Amazing.
of basic things. I mean, it can get very overwhelming, but you just have to sort of start with one or two things and just progress from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, oh, there was something I was just going to say, and I can't remember it. It's gone.
That's okay. It'll come back.
It's gone. I can't remember what it is. It's gone. That's okay.
That's okay.
Um,
Yeah. So, I mean, nutrition is a big area, and I think obviously, as one of my mentors said to a class that I did very early on, he's a naturopath in California, and I did a lot of my iridology and sclerology studies with him over the years. And he said, the gross physical body is a food body. So while, we obviously other things are factors, it is the nutrition that we take in that gets converted to
yeah.
the base nutrients, the amino acids, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, everything that ultimately nourish our cells.
Yeah.
So we can never discount the importance of our nutrition. There are many
Yeah.
other facets, the wheel of health, right? We know that there are all the spokes to the wheel and everything adding and pointing to the center of us in optimal wellness. But we can never discount the importance of our basic nutritional intake. And then, find that along with other what he termed um, right living, which is, right relationships, right occupation, all these things that we
Yeah.
know that when we're in alignment with those things feel right and
Mm-hmm.
things move and we flow through the universe like we should. We don't get stuck in things when
Yeah.
those things are all in alignment. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's not to say that we have to be looking at all things holistically and incorporating and learning about all those different areas of our health and well-being. But yes, as far as nutrition goes, we are a gross physical body. We need those base elements to, there are cultures who have, elevated beyond that, the breatharians and maybe
Yeah.
maybe the suntarians who just sit and look at the sun and take in energy. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever
With the
get to
price
that
of everything
level.
going up, I've debated learning about it.
Maybe. Maybe
Like
that's
maybe it'd
not
be
a
easier.
maybe that's a good idea.
So
So
funny.
one thing that I can speak to as well is when we lived in Ontario, we were there for 14 years before we moved back out west in 2007. And we were part of a community supported agriculture farm, so a
Mm-hmm.
CSA. And, basically from May until October, we went and we got our food share and we bought organic and we bought locally. And we had a community of people that we did potlucks with. And it was an amazing, amazing time. And when we came to North Vancouver, we got away from that because it just wasn't really in the neighborhood and not really conducive. Even though I have farmers markets, it's just not quite the same. But
Yeah.
now we're living on the Sunshine Coast and we've connected with some amazing people here. And, one woman in particular said, hey, we need to do this and we're going to do it. So we've started another sort of farm growing cooperative, like gardening, and we're out, as much as we can be right now, prepping the garden beds, planting seeds. So if you can do anything like that to get back to your source, go and find some local farms that
Mm-hmm.
you can, or garden groups that you can be part of so that you can
Yeah.
participate in growing your own food and knowing where your food is coming from. And
Mm-hmm.
as a young family or any family, that's such an amazing education for your kids to show them where their food comes from and how they can connect to the
Yeah.
earth that way. So,
Yeah.
and it's very doable. You just have to,
Mm-hmm.
because that was one thing that I noticed, especially the first summer of the last 2 years, is the amazing number of garden beds that I started seeing popping up in people's front yards, backyards.
Yeah.
So people have been doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
let's not stop doing it. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother and his girlfriend just started doing like a whole garden, and I'm so excited. And thank you for pointing out about like community and stuff like that as well. It's when it comes to the water and stuff like that too. I know here in Ottawa, there's a natural spring that we can go to fill up water. And so I've been going, well, I did that last weekend, and I'm going to start doing that now to get like nice, fresh, clean water, because the energy difference in that compared to even in the city, like there's even that to do. And like local farmers, the farmers market, stuff like that, it definitely does energetically have a big difference compared to what's being shipped from who knows where, how many people it's been handled by, sitting in the grocery stores. I know, like, even when I went to, say, Walmart, I went into Walmart to grab something, and even energetically, like, I'm very sensitive to energy. I can feel the energy difference. And then just looking at the foods in that store, I'm like, I would never buy my food here, ever.
Yeah.
And like, even just going to like find a local health food store and start swapping things. That was something that I started doing, would just go in with one of the normal kind of foods that I had from the normal store, and just go into the health food store and just be like, hey, what kind of alternative do you have for this? And asking the people that work there, because they're obviously working there because they're very passionate about what
Exactly.
they're doing as well. So there's so many
Yeah.
kind of like ways around making these incredible shifts in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this
incredible,
and
Joanne.
this even a couple of other basic steps is think about a food that you've never tried, a vegetable or a fruit that you've never tried. And next time you go, buy one. And actually, I was going to say I've been to Ottawa many, many times. My mother-in-law lived there for many years, and the Byward Market is incredible. So to go
Mm,
down there and connect with all the local growers, I
yeah,
mean, you can't beat it. So
yeah.
go to a local market, find out what's there. Look at, you're going to find vegetables or something that you've never eaten before. Ask the person who grew it, what is this? How do I prepare it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
going to get this and I'm going to take it home and I'm going to make it. Super
mm-hmm.
simple, but so
Yeah,
important because you just learned something new,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and we can get like so like caught up in like eating the exact same foods all the time that the nutrient diversity just isn't there. So having this
Abs-
curiosity when it comes to our food or supplementing is
Yep,
massive,
totally.
to be able to
Yeah,
make sure that we have all of that. And I love that you mentioned too about basically the old saying, like, you are what you eat. Like, we literally are what we eat. And I think we forget about that sometimes, that a lot of the foods, when we're not getting the wide array of minerals and vitamins and nutrients, like, there are literally processes in our body that don't work when are missing certain minerals and certain vitamins and stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it isn't just what we eat, it's what we digest and absorb and assimilate and
yeah,
eliminate.
yeah.
It's all that component of digestion, which is actually mind blowing if you really take a few minutes to think about it. But,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we can do this and our body just knows automatically pretty much what to do and how to do it. So
Yeah.
we can, sit in gratitude with that is really key. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have time, Joanne, to go into the cleansing portion, to just explain like the benefits of that? Because we've chatted a lot about like the nutrition, but I know that was something that we mentioned at the beginning, where that is a big kind of missing component in a lot of the education that we receive from
Yeah,
society.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, the what that cleansing and detoxing was one of the first things probably that I learned in my very first iridology course. Because when we are looking at the eye and the tissue condition of the body through the eye, we are looking at areas of congestion, which can represent toxicity because it can be things that are stuck in the body. So what we want to do, and it's been argued in many camps, well, our body, we have organs that detoxify and we don't need to do anything to help that. Well, I beg to differ because we have a lot of pollution out there. We have stuff in our water. We have chemicals in our food. We have preservatives in our food if you're eating things that contain preservatives. And we have a lot of I guess the air and water are the two key ones that we don't necessarily have a lot of control over because, it's being put there by somebody else. So we need to assist our body as much as we can. So we have lungs to detoxify weak acids when we breathe, carbon dioxide. We have our kidneys. We have our whole digestive system. We have our lymphatic system and our blood. And while those are venues for nutrition, they're also ways that our body gets rid of waste. So if those become clogged, and we're eliminating pounds of waste every day, but if one of those channels becomes clogged or slows down, the rest of them all have to take up the slack. So then it stresses the 3 or 4 that are left. And if we're not living in a right, aligned way, then our organs are going to slow down and they're not going to be as efficient. And there's a genetic component to that as well, which we don't always understand our genetics to know how that's really going to influence us. But there can be genetic predispositions to not producing enough of something as a byproduct of something else. You may be genetically predisposed to missing manufacturing a certain enzyme or something like that, and obviously there are severe genetic conditions where that shows up. So basically, even in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, the premise is to constantly assist the body to do its own detoxification process. I generally talk about, and I think, we've talked about, twice a year is kind of the key time to do a major focus detox. So that would be spring and fall. And that's the major changes of the season. Again, you're going along with the Earth's energy of those changes. And you want to kind of keep in alignment with that. So what we want to do is we want to simplify our intake of food. We want to give our digestive organ a break as much as possible. So we can do that by intermittent fasting, there's lots of definitions to intermittent fasting. A lot of people understand the concept of just eating between noon and 8 or 11 and 7 or 10 and 6, which is one way to do intermittent fasting. And that keeps with the natural circadian rhythm of the body. When your body is ready to take in nutrition, when it's ready to break down the nutrition, when it's ready to assimilate the nutrients. And that's called the concept of natural hygiene. So we want to support that. And when we take breaks from food and our body gets a little bit hungry, it's doing something called autophagy, which is going in and basically cleaning itself up. So our body naturally does that if we give it the space to do it. So and another way of intermittent fasting is to actually abstain from food for 24 to 48 hours. And there's been some independent studies to show that even your human growth hormone levels and different hormone levels in the body will increase in a response to this break from taking in solid food, giving it that intermittent fast. So that's really important because those are, like, human growth hormone is a growth hormone that will stimulate growth and healing. Well, why wouldn't we want that in our body, to kind of reset and revitalize? And then the other component of that, so a lot of people will do water fasting or this kind of a thing. I've always been an advocate of using herbs, right from even before I was doing things professionally. I was always adding herbal things into my routine. And the power of herbs just goes beyond water. So when you are doing that 24 to 48 hour fast, if you can add botanicals or herbal blends into that fasting component, then you're basically helping to get in there and do some internal scrubbing in the cells, get the body to release more of, and a lot of times our cells can be stuck they can be, the cellular matrix of the cell can actually be rigid, and it can be stuck in terms of its ability to slough off toxins. So by
Mm.
using herbals and botanicals and even homeopathy, we can get those cells to open up and discharge when it needs to discharge. And then obviously we want to, along with that, we can do some other herbal things to support our digestion. Apple cider vinegar, green tea, um, herbals like pau d'arco, black walnut, peppermint. Herbs like that are very supportive and healing to the digestive tract. I
Mm-hmm.
would say most clients that I work with have some sort of digestive compromise. So
Yeah.
again, if you can't digest and break things down, your body can't access the nutrition. So we want to really support the digestive tract to heal and be in good shape. And then by, getting in there and doing that toothbrush scrubbing, I call it, on the cells, then we can just open up the detox pathways. We can get them working optimally, hopefully up to 100%. And then as we go into our daily routine, we're going to feel energy, not, lack of energy. So, and another key thing that we want to support is through some adaptogenic herbs is to support our stress. And who doesn't have stress? Adrenals take a big hit these days. And our adrenals, you just think of where they sit above the kidneys. They're like right at the sort of, I call it the fulcrum of your system, because it's at that midway point. It's like, if you were lying down, that would be the fulcrum of the teeter-totter where you're balancing back and forth. That's where our adrenals are. And so to keep our adrenals strong for women, our adrenals do produce estrogen as we go into perimenopause and menopause. So it's very key to keep our adrenals healthy going into that time of our life. And also just in general, if we've got, our adrenal fatigue, and we've got too much cortisol running through our bloodstream, then that cortisol acts as a tear down hormone. It has a very important role in doing that, but if it's chronically there in the body, it's going to overall, be detracting from our overall health and well-being. So yeah, we want to support our bodies as much as we can. Cleansing is a really key component of that. It supports the body in its processes. It will show you a lot of things about your body that you probably weren't aware of before, because some
Mm-hmm.
of that intuitive speaking will start to come out a little more when you decide to cleanse and detox.
Yeah.
And yeah, overall can be so, so beneficial long term for your health.
Mm-hmm. You can hear all the seagulls singing in the background.
Yeah,
They're
for
going
sure.
crazy. Yeah. I started doing the intermittent fasting and stuff 6 years ago now, and it's incredible. I actually have been thinking I'm going to be doing one again soon, and I love how you pointed out in the spring and fall is a great time to do it, 'cause I'm ready for another like energetic upgrade.
Oh yeah, this
But
is a
yeah,
perfect time to be doing
massive
it.
to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it does support an energetic upgrade because
Huge.
it will shift the frequency of your cells into that healthier place.
Yeah.
So overall, mind, body, spirit, you can shift it into a much healthier spot.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Massive. It's we could literally talk about that. We can maybe do another podcast where we're chatting more in depth about specific topics. This one is kind of just very general
Sure.
for everybody. But yeah, that was incredible, Joanne. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
You're welcome.
Basically, I guess like the whole thing is making the lifestyle shifts that you can do and just slowly doing it and listening to your body to what feels good to you. But even like for people listening, go back and listen to this podcast again and take notes and just pick one or two things that you want to implement in, or maybe make a whole list of it, and slowly over time start trying things and be curious again and see like what's working for your body, what isn't. Feel free to go out and have conversations with people in the health food stores, or conversations with other people and other practitioners. Like reach out to Joanne if you want to have a chat with her. Go out there and just be curious, to keep exploring, because our bodies are incredible when we start learning how to listen to what they're actually saying. And we've kind of like, our bodies are kind of, a lot of us, we're in a place where we're kind of learning how to heal, and we're learning how to come back to our full optimized potential as humans, just because of the way we've been raised in society, and to learn to decrease the toxins, to increase the actual nutrient value that we're receiving in our foods. It's all incredible, and we can keep focusing on like the big dreams and the big goals that we have, but the human body, like the physical component, is really truly like the basis, like you said, that pyramid, like the ground level for us to be able to start doing the spiritual upgrades, the energetic upgrades, the emotional upgrades. Like all of it comes down to that. And even like when it comes to like gut health and our hormones and our mood, we didn't even get to touch on that, which I think would be an incredible one to chat about. But there's so much value for us to receive from shifting our nutrition. So anybody listening, don't discount shifting your nutrition, because you'd be amazed with the value that you start receiving from just shifting something as simple as your nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you said is just be curious. Be
Mm-hmm.
curious.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a real need to be curious right now and explore. Just explore,
Mm-hmm.
explore, explore, and
Yeah.
ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions and learn something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if anybody listening has any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and we can always get back to them, or we can do another episode, and we can answer all the questions as well. But thank you so much, Joanne, for taking the time out of your
Totally.
day
Thanks,
to be here
Laura.
with all of us. We appreciate you so much,
Yeah,
and
you're very welcome.
I hope that your day goes well and you get on the ferry. And where is it that you're headed?
Oh, just into North Vancouver from
Amazing.
Sechelt. So yeah, we're
Awesome.
just getting ready to board now. So they've been running late a
Amazing.
lot.
Oh yeah. You drive the car like right on the ferry, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you're just getting ready to
yeah, it's
drive
just
on.
summer schedule is starting already, so it's gonna get busy for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how is it that people can get in contact with you, Joanne?
Well, I am on Instagram as well under CW Solutions, and lots of stuff in my Linktree bio there of different things. And if you want to do like a 30-minute complimentary sort of exploring call, discovery call, I call it, you can do that as well and just book it there.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah,
And I'll put all the links, everything that we chatted about throughout this podcast down in the comments below, so you can easily go through there and take a peek at all the resources and stuff like that. So thank you so
super.
much, Joanne. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Have a great day. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
you too. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you so much to everybody who's on here live with us. So amazing. And we will catch everybody on the next episode. Thanks, everyone. See you later.